everybody. We are, I don't know if it's recovering is the word for it, but we are seriously mentally fucked post-Endgame and Game of Thrones battle of I was going to say Castle Rock.
Definitely not Castle Rock.
But that would be Winterfell. The Battle of Winterfell is over.
We got a lot to say.
We have a lot to unpack and talk. As we do every week, we are going to continue to talk about Game of Thrones, but we're going to do it at the end of the show and warn you about spoilers well beforehand, so if you haven't seen, just turn that part of the episode off. We are not going to do Avengers spoilers. We promise you that. But this is what we are going to talk about today, Hambone.
So today we are going to talk about the Avengers Endgame. We're going to do a spoiler-free review of that. Cobra Kai Season 2 just dropped on YouTube Red. We are going to talk about the feelings that we have on that, which are so many. We got Santa Clarita Diet Season 3, and we're going to talk about Game of Thrones.
Oh, are we going to talk about Game of Thrones?
So much Game of Thrones.
We also going to talk about Hot Water Music?
We are going to talk a little bit about Hot Water Music. I went to go see them on their 25th anniversary tour this weekend.
I'm so excited to hear about it. Anyway, first of all, I think you need to give us a cocktail, Hambone.
I do, and I'm very excited about this. Now, April's theme month fell apart a little bit. I do admit to that. May's theme month is pretty cool, though. May is spring. May is fun. May is fresh. And May is also just in time for the Kentucky Derby happening this weekend.
I got to say this, Hambone. I have given you books where there are hundreds upon hundreds of cocktails. I don't want any more repeats.
No
more repeats.
We're doing repeats.
Thousands.
That's fine, but you know what? A lot of those, listen, the thing with that is a lot of those are just subjective to like some bartender out of the blue coming up with something they threw in a book. Just because it's in a book does not mean it is a good cocktail. It is important that we give our listeners only the best. And in the month of May, you're getting all juleps.
All juleps.
All juleps in honor of the Kentucky Derby, which is happening this weekend.
Go ahead and give me juleps. So I do love a good mint julep.
I know you love.
But I also love a mojito. I love to muddle.
You do like to
I'm
muddle.
a big muddler.
Listen, here at Headhunters Lounge, this is a muddling establishment.
Muddle. Give it to me.
Mint julep is going to be served in a double old-fashioned glass. Now, you're going to need 10 mint leaves, 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. I like to use a sugar cube personally because I think that sugar cube is just the right amount. You're going to use 2.5 ounces of Kentucky bourbon. I say why not go with Bullet and a little bit of club soda. Now, here's how you do it. You're going to put the mint in first. Then you're going to add the sugar, and you're going to muddle gently. Remember, when you're muddling, you want to bruise, not break. So once you get done with your muddle...
Muddle me gently with this song.
Or a Pez dispenser.
Oh, no, you're not going to do the Pez dispenser thing. We've already done that. That was like last year.
Hey, either way, so you muddle it gently. Just buy a proper muddle stick, folks. If you're starting a bar in your basement, get a muddler. Add a splash of club soda just to kind of mix the mint and the sugar together. Then you're going to add ice. You can do 3/4 of the glass full of ice. Then you're going to add the bourbon, and then you're going to top it off with seltzer. Now take that swizzle stick that you got decorative from one of your favorite tiki bars, give it a quick little swizzle around there, garnish it with some fresh mint, and serve it immediately. Now, there is a special cup that you could also use. You can get a nice chilled tin cup for it as well. If you don't have that, no problem. Double old-fashioned glass will do the trick. May's for muddling. Here at Headhunters.
Ooh, all right, that was great. That was a good kid catchphrase for that. I want to talk a little bit about...
Talk about Avengers a little bit, because we can't talk too much about it.
You cut me off. I wasn't going to say it. You wouldn't even let me on. That's fine.
Sorry, buddy.
Go ahead. Go Avengers. So I haven't seen Avengers yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting until next Saturday because I didn't. It's Easter this past week. Like, come on with the baby. It's hard to get a babysitter.
It's
so it's
proper
tough.
Easter. Which Easter is it?
Oh, it's Greek Orthodox. No, the right Easter.
Greek
the one
Easter.
that isn't Catholic Easter.
Exactly.
So it's the way it is. I cannot go see Endgame until next Saturday. So we're not going to do like the bad spoiler episode for at least another week. But I kind of want you to we saw the reviews, tremendous reviews. Everybody is loving it.
Amazing.
Are the feels as good as the feels that you feel?
Oh, I had feels. I had a lot of feelings on it. And my feelings were, this is awesome. It was awesome. It is a true love letter to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the perfect cherry to pop on top of that 22-episode saga.
Yeah, and I want to know, is it the best of all of them? Because judging by the reviews, this is, I mean, the only one that I think got a better Rotten Tomato score was Black Panther, and I think
Right.
that was for different reasons. I think that was because, obviously it was the first major African-American, African, he's just
Right.
African, right? Cultural superhero that was
Fantastic.
shown on the silver
Fantastic.
screen. It was also a really good feel-good movie with great action-adventure. I don't know if this I think feel should be like the pinnacle of all superhero movies.
It is. It really is. And I've been thinking for days of how to do this in a non-spoilery way. It is essentially the second. It's the true final act. It is the true final act of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like this is what we've been waiting for. This is something that when they told us they were going to do this and they started building it out and they hit the Avengers and we thought, well, holy shit, we hit the Avengers. Like, this is it. This is the promise of what we wanted to see as kids. We wanted to see like the Justice League, the big superhero team up movie. And they're all like, nah, we have a lot more to go. And I remember seeing the Avengers and being like, well, how are they going to top this? And they consistently topped it.
No, they didn't. Avengers 2 is horrible.
Well, I'm not saying with the event.
I know what you mean.
Within the universe, they've topped it.
Yes.
It's not a traditional movie.
Mm-hmm.
The structure of this movie is not a traditional movie in the sense that it's not the kind of thing where if you're a, kind of lapsed Marvel fan or you just kind of wanted to check out the movies here and there, don't go see this movie.
And that's what. So I've seen a lot of people, particularly today. My friend Jacqueline in. From Nothing But Tech, she posted she wants to see it just because of the amount of love it's getting. She's thinking of it, I think, more of as like a Dark Knight Return, a cultural moment.
The Dark Knight Returns a fucking garbage movie compared to this film.
Really?
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck the Dark Knight Returns. Fuck Christopher Nolan's Batman. We were wrong about everything. Like,
I mean, I've seen it recently. I still think Heath Ledger made that movie. It was a great Joker.
Fantastic Joker. The Dark Knight Returns is a great superhero movie, but this movie takes a big old shit on top of the Dark Knight Returns.
So there you go. Okay, but that's not where I was going.
Oh, I know.
You are clearly cut off Jones today.
I needed to say that.
Okay. We never talked about that before, but I'm glad I know your feelings now. That was actually my favorite of all the Batman movies. That said, if you were to never have seen a Marvel movie before, but you want to see this because of the cultural importance of it and why you don't want to be left out, what do you need to see as a bare minimum in order to get in here? Now, I will give you what I think it is, and then you tell me if I'm right or add to it. So I feel you need to see Avengers. I feel you need to see Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and this. Is there anything missing that you feel would really need to be at the bare minimum to watch this movie? And I know there's little nuance. I mean, look, who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? I think some of this stuff is kind of obvious if you're not an idiot.
I can't say without spoiling things in the movie.
Really?
I'm going to be very honest with you. Okay, so for people who are just tuning in now to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you watch this movie, you feel like you've already missed the first act of a story. But that's okay because this is just supposed to be the end. It's the pinnacle of that universe.
No. Not the end of the universe, though. From everything I hear, it's just the end of this saga.
The saga. Universe might not be the right word for it, but the saga. The 22 movie saga. But I could not imagine. Like, I remember going to see Fantastic Beasts recently when I saw it in the theaters. And I sat there watching this movie and going, it's kind of like if you had read the books, if you were a Harry Potter fan, you read the Harry Potter books, and you're like, oh, well, every Harry Potter movie, there's a certain degree of they have to leave some things out, or they gotta like mash some things together. And then you're like, okay, but like I know why this is happening, and it's okay because I know what the story is behind the scenes. That's fine. But the average person watching it is like, something is like completely missing that I'm supposed to know, but I didn't plan on reading the book, so I don't know what's going on. The same thing with this Marvel Endgame, because if you don't know what happened before, there's going to be things that aren't going to trigger for you the right way. And then things you're just not going to understand.
Well, my whole belief is that you really can't get the emotional connection people have because you aren't as emotionally invested into all these characters.
Right. And that's where the movie truly shines. And that's why this is not like a traditional movie insofar as saying that the real payoff is the journey that you've been on with these characters. The real payoff comes from the emotional moments and the things that happen in the movie, where if you're just a person who's just checking in right now, you're going to be so lost. And a lot of things that's going to happen is going to mean nothing to you. Whereas if you are a fan and you've been watching these movies, or even if you've just seen enough of them that you know pretty much what's going on, everything pays off dividends.
So not a fan, not worth watching.
No, because it really is like you're walking into like the mid-second act of a movie from when the opening credits start. But as an actual fan, like I can 100% see why it got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. I can see why it made like $1 billion at the box office this weekend.
And to be fair, the 96% has to be more than just comic book fans,
right,
because not every reviewer is a hardcore comic book fan.
And also, it's interesting that you say that, because we talked in a previous episode about how Marvel's like kind of maybe we're on the fence about not making comic books anymore, because these characters now have transcended comics. They are a cultural phenomenon. These are things that are in everyone's lexicons, not just people who read comic books. Because the reality is, if everybody who went to see these movies were reading comic books, even if like an eighth of them were reading comic books, the comic industry would be booming right now. And it's not, because this is just average people who like these characters, who love these stories. And they're not going to the comic shop, they're going to the movies.
But that's because these movies have streamlined a very 50, 60 years of convoluted storylines,
right,
which is why it's so hard. And every time they try to streamline the comic books or reboot, the backlash, because the only people still collect are the old school fans, the backlash is insane and they get murdered for it.
Well, to that point, I think that a similar thing could happen with this, because now once this wraps up, someone's like, man, I want to get into these Marvel movies. Like, well, you got to watch these 22 movies for anything to make sense. They're going to be like, I'm out.
Yeah, I get it, but that's a lot less investment than
50, 60 years of continuity.
Exactly. Very convoluted continuity. Yeah. I mean, if they're going to add the X-Men soon, I mean, that's going to be a whole nother ball game, having to streamline that for the cinematic universe.
So I think my main takeaway from this is, I think a lot of people who aren't liking it are really trying to find a reason not to like it, because everyone's going to fantasy book how they think it should go or what they think should happen. Like in any movie, any TV show, any book, you are going to sit there as a fan and you're going to have your theories, you're going to speculate, you're going to get yourself all hyped up, and then what you think should happen doesn't happen, and then you kind of start taking away from the goodness and the greatness of the movie. I think that's what I'm seeing out there a lot.
What is great here, though, is that they're not basing this 100% off of the stock story from like 25, 30 years
right,
ago. I mean, they're not, this isn't the Infinity Gauntlet / Crisis / War being
right,
just, it's not like you're making a movie off a book. And again, we can talk about this a little more later with Game of Thrones,
right,
but this isn't a situation where you really, no comic book fan is upset that they're hurting the source material here, much like, say, how the X-Men screwed up the Dark Phoenix saga, or might be doing it in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
that's the big difference here. It's they have the soul of the story, and then they're embellishing and they're making it better.
Right.
And you can't do that when you change the entire story, such as the case with Dark Phoenix. And again, we haven't seen that movie yet, but curious to see how that's heading.
So it's interesting because after seeing this movie, I think back to the X-Men movies, right? And I think that they had enough, because the X-Men is so vast, right? They had enough different characters, different storylines, that if they had started small and then built up to the X-Men team forming, right? And if they had kind of stayed small a little bit and told more personal stories like they do in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with some bigger overarching parts, they could have built all the way up to the Dark Phoenix saga instead of throwing out like jobber mutants we put them on the screens and we use their names so they exist, but we don't actually use them.
To be fair, the Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't exist yet when X-Men came out, when X2 came out. It really didn't exist to where it is today.
Right, but it existed when First Class came out, and if they had rebuilt properly from there.
First Class was a Band-Aid.
Right.
Keep in mind, they've already botched by then. No, I'm sorry. First Class is not where that. It should have been from day one. I agree with you. From day one, I think there wasn't really a precedence. There wasn't really comic book movies. At the time, there was like maybe Spider-Man and maybe Iron Man. That was about it. And they really just, there was no way of doing. I mean, X-Men really was like the first one of those major breakout movies, and I don't think that anyone really knew that didn't think they could do this, because they didn't know superhero movies could make money yet.
Well, DC still can't do it, so
DC, the problem with DC is in the Marvel situation, except they are clearly there. With DC, you really have that corporate feeling. You get that feeling that there's like a big corporate entity behind it saying, why don't we have a Marvel Cinematic Universe? I'm gonna do some Vince McMahon voice.
Do it.
Why isn't there a Marvel Cinematic Universe? Why can't we just do it? Just give it to it. Why can't you just make it? We have enough money. We have enough equity in great stories and great superheroes that we should just do it.
Everyone loves Batman.
Everyone loves Batman. Just do it.
Superman.
But the thing is, you can't do it after the fact. You need to start early, and luckily Kevin Feige and Marvel had the wherewithal to go, okay, the first one did well, let's step back for a second and see how we can build this narrative, because it's making enough money, Spider-Man's making enough money in a separate area, that let's just figure out how we're going to do this right. And they did it right.
I would say not even wherewithal, I'd say patience.
Yeah.
Because it did. I mean,
11 years is a long time.
Long time, but man, just the money truck now exists in Marvel's law. They just print that money.
Then again, Star Wars is at 40 years, and they're still trying to figure out how to do this too.
It's fair.
Hopefully Disney will figure that out. I think Kevin Feige should just go and fix everything.
Yeah, he's a fixer. He's a straight up
Just
fixer.
go fix it.
Holy crap, man! I think we got through this whole thing without spoiling anything.
No, I think we did too.
Yes.
Look, I haven't seen it yet, so there's nothing to spoil there. I'd say the Twitter universe, everybody's been very good. Nothing's really come out.
No, really?
Far better than Game of Thrones last night. If you didn't watch Game of Thrones live, you were basically fucked if you went on the internet yesterday. Though, to be fair, and we'll talk about that later, even if they spoiled something, like a character, you really, until you saw what we saw last night, there was no way to really spoil
the
that.
hashtag that was going out would have made no sense until you actually saw the deal go down.
Exactly. Anyway, Cobra Kai came back.
Oh my God, Cobra Kai came back.
So I did the stupid thing where I started going to Netflix and be like, Cobra Kai, why aren't you showing? Oh, Hulu. Oh, wait, that's the show that YouTube has.
Yeah.
And just completely forgot that YouTube has original programming, and then had to go find it. But Cobra Kai is back. I have only seen the first few episodes. Again, same feeling as the original. It really love letter to the Karate Kid saga. Not that anybody really needed that, but they've done such a good job.
No one asked for it.
Nobody asked for it. Nobody asked for this at all. But they've done such a good job with it that you're just happy. And I love it. Again, I heard this one goes dark.
Oh, it gets really dark.
So I can't. Again, this just launched this week. We did say that going forward, we're not going to just spoil stuff on the first. We're not just gonna with Hambone's binges. We're gonna give a couple weeks for things to breathe. Usually by then I finish watching it and we can talk about it. We're gonna more preview it. So this picks up right after Cobra Kai, the first series ends.
It picks up literally
the second,
the minute from the screen going black in Cobra Kai season 1. John Kreese is back. John Kreese, the villainous owner of the Cobra Kai dojo in the original Karate Kid. What they do well with this is what was my favorite thing about the movie Phantasm. As the series progressed, they would pull parts out of the original Phantasm movie and do kind of flashback and scenes that made what was happening in the current time make sense. And so they do a lot of that, and they cherry pick it from the Karate Kid, the Karate Kid 2, and the Karate Kid 3. But they cherry pick all the right spots. And I'm sure if you really are a Karate Kid nerd, there's a lot of lore and things that they've retconned to make it fit into the series now. That said, man, John Kreese is a good villain.
So 2 things.
Yeah.
John Kreese is 74.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nuts.
Oh, yeah.
B, dead ringer for current day Billy Idol doppelganger. Right?
Whoa.
As he looks now with his spiky blonde hair, he looks just like whatever old Billy Idol is now, because he's probably around the same age.
He looks like Billy Idol if Billy Idol didn't have work done.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
So that's the first thing I thought. I was like, whoa, that guy could play Billy Idol today if they wanted. If Billy Idol, I don't know why they would do that, because they could just use Billy Idol.
Use Billy Idol.
But Billy, very cool. I like this because one of the reasons why the flashbacks work in this case is because they have all the original characters.
Yeah, they do.
Or actors.
And they actually do take a really interesting turn with original characters that, again, I'm going to wait for you to see on your own because I don't want to spoil this for you. It's a show that is... It's still Johnny's journey to become a better person. And at every turn, it's just every decision he makes, even when they're the right decisions and they're good decisions and coming from a good place, he just gets shit on left and right. And there is so much more karate happening in this season, especially towards the back half of the season. Man, the things that you're kind of like, man, when I watch like a karate movie or things where people are doing martial arts and stuff, you're like, man, the one thing that ties it up on like a martial, they never do enough martial arts. Pull out all the stops.
What I love about this is Johnny's story. This isn't Daniel's story, even though Daniel gets a lot of screen time. This is really Johnny's redemption story, and I think that's why it's also called Cobra Kai,
right,
and not Karate Kid, the TV show, or whatever they could call it. Because that would sound really dumb if it did.
Yeah.
And Cobra Kai is just a better name, but it is the story of Johnny's redemption. Also, really, if you were to watch Karate Kid nowadays, which I did a couple months back or maybe a year ago when this came out, and we realized, wow, that was way too long of a movie at the time. I don't know if you know that movie's like 2 hours long. It should not be that long. But if you really poke holes in it, Daniel is the douchebag who tried to steal the other guy's girl and then beat him up for it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Johnny kind of was the one who got screwed, and they do push that narrative in this. They do push a little bit as Daniel kind of being the douchebag, and he kind of is. He's like, he owns a used car, or not, I guess a new car lot, but he's very much the car salesman type, and they don't hide it, and I love that about it.
And it's funny that you mentioned that as the series goes on, like it really does, like, you poke holes back in the original Karate Kid, like you just see Daniel kind of going down like a weird dark path himself, where it becomes kind of like a reverse of their journey. Very interesting. I am dying for season 3, especially since I watched everything in like a day.
And because they're only going to have 3 seasons, because that seems to be Netflix's modus operandi nowadays.
It's on Netflix. It's YouTube Red.
Fuck. I just completely like that, but it's now so funny because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it transitions us into our next topic, which is Santa Clarita Diet. We've been actually stalling on talking about that for a little bit because there's been so much to talk about lately. And Santa Clarita Diet I'm not a fan of sitcoms.
No.
Not a fan of funny, not a fan of half-hour funny, unless it's like The Office or Parks and Rec. And I loved Santa Clarita Diet. It's a story where Timothy Olyphant and Drew Barrymore play a couple with a teenage daughter. She gets eaten by a zombie vampire type creature. She turns into undead, but it's one of those undeads where it's like, you're not really, you're not like a ghoul. You're just dead and you can't be killed. It's a weird vampire zombie hybrid.
She's legitimately the living dead.
Yeah, she's the living dead. But it's done more vampire-esque without she can go out in the daytime.
Right.
And she's also they're both realtors.
Yeah, she ate a bad clam, and that's how she became a zombie.
That was the bad clam, wasn't it?
Clam.
Such a weird. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But it's just a really funny, silly story. The thing is, they do up the gore, which is so weird because it is a sitcom, but it is bloody as hell.
Oh, it's so gory. And season 3 is no exception to this.
And they murder the fuck out of people. They go after Nazis. They eat Nazis, but she murders the shit out of people. I'm about like 4 or 5 episodes in, so happy, and then the news breaks. Netflix, it was trending the other day while you were doing something, and I saw it trending, Santa Clarita Diet. I'm like, oh, I wonder why this is trending.
Shame on you.
Because it was canceled.
Shame on you, Netflix.
And there is no...
Shame.
The thing is, because Netflix gives out no numbers, they give out no metrics, they give out nothing, except when they said that the Bird Box was the top viewed thing they've ever had. Well, they don't, so we don't know how things are doing. And I hear that on the other side, it's tough for the actors and because they don't get that info either.
Oh, yeah.
So they have no idea if they're being renewed.
So, when a show normally gets canceled, the fans because what the show's ratings are, the fans rally and try to do change.orgs and Facebook and hashtags and all that shit. I can't imagine what that'd have to be like for a Netflix show where you have no idea what the ratings are. So as a fan, you're like, do I even show up for this? Because if I'm the only one, at least if it's trending on Twitter, you have some kind of idea of how many people want this too, or how many people are talking about it, how many people want it. But it's not like the traditional model where am I going to be the only one standing here in the field with this change.org thing? That's going to be embarrassing.
I am really upset because, first of all, I'm halfway through the season.
Yeah.
I know it ends on a cliffhanger, and we're never going to have that payoff now. They should have at least told them that this might happen. Something to at least they could have finished the fucking story off. You could tell me it's worth finishing off the season?
It is, because they do the thing that most shows do nowadays where they don't know if they're going to get canceled or not, so they end it on a semi-cliffhanger, where it's like, hey, so if we get canceled, this is a satisfying enough ending for people who have been watching this for 3 seasons. If we don't get canceled, we've got a direction to move in.
AMC, do right by us. Pick this thing up. It would work. It's as good as The Walking Dead. Fucking do it. Listen to me right now. I'm not lying. It needs to be on AMC. I'm right. You're wrong. Do it.
What he said.
I'm so grumpy about that because it is a very good show. It's a feel good because I love my feel bad television.
You love it.
This is a feel good, feel bad television show.
It's kind of half and half.
Yeah.
I figure it's like the Arnold Palmer. Half feel bad, half feel good.
That is the greatest metaphor you've ever
Thank
done
you.
on this show. I'm so excited to hear that. And I love all Arnold Palmers, too.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because I think, again, I am not an expert in this thing. However, you watch certain shows and you're like, most scenes take place in a house or in a storage. It can't cost that much to make. It really can't. They're not using elaborate sets or jetting off to Morocco or somewhere fun like that.
Yeah, it's depressing. I'm kind of bummed out by it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, but you see, Netflix is where most shows go to get resurrected, so it's kind of screwed right now.
Yeah, that's like starting it the wrong way.
Yeah, it's also who paid for it. If it was Netflix, there's issues there. People are correlating it to the recent, a lot of Marvel comics being canceled after 3 seasons. I think it has nothing to do with that because those were, the Disney app, Marvel's going off over there. I think there's a whole different situation. I assume maybe the ratings weren't very good or whatever, the watch, the hits, the views.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell you even call it on that.
Well, it's interesting. I watched another show called Travelers, and that got canceled after 3 seasons.
So do we just assume this last season of Stranger Things at this point?
No, because Stranger Things prints money.
I don't know. It's really weird. Now, from what some people were alluding to is that Netflix might be doing this because supposedly after 3 seasons, there's room for negotiations and a lot of other finance stuff that falls into the mix, and maybe that's why. Again, I still don't think one has something to do with the other because the Marvel stuff was going to go regardless.
Yeah.
There wasn't a Defender season 2. I mean, it's just... I think there wasn't an Iron Fist season 3. They canceled those because they were pulling out the Marvel thing, or Marvel was pulling them back, depending on which side of the narrative you want to believe.
True,
but that's how it goes. I'm very upset. I wish people would go watch it. I hope Hambone's right and it concludes well enough where it's worth going to see it because it was a very good show.
I really do think you're going to enjoy the remaining episodes.
Is The Good Place just a Netflix thing?
No, The Good Place is NBC.
So that's why
Universal.
That's still there.
Yeah, Good Place is NBC Universal, and it's a hit right now. So Netflix has a deal, I think, that once it gets wrapped up, he has to do the full season on television and Hulu, and then once that wraps up, it dumps over to Netflix.
I on a completely different note, I had a very weird experience this week where I listened. I was sitting at work and I was 5 minutes to do nothing, and I got a notification that the WWE earnings call was starting.
Oh, you were on that?
Yeah, so Robinhood notified me about it. I'm like, let me hop on it. It wasn't too hard. I hop on it because I'm just like, let's just see. I have a couple stocks in WWE. I was like, let me go listen to what this is about. And I know what Verizon earnings or reports are like. I hear them all the time. I'm used to, it's a lot of EBITDA and money and financials and what's leading to financials, analysts, earnings, money up and down, meeting forecasts, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I wonder what this is like. So I fired up. They patch me in. I'm listening, and it is so surreal to hear Vince McMahon as Vince McMahon talking about earnings, financial figures, this year ratings were down because it's because all our wrestlers are injured this year, and that's why our EBITDA is down, and we're trending this way, and it's very strange to hear Vince talking financial figures, and he is constantly, so there's other people who are obviously the president of, there's 2 co-presidents, there's a CFO, one of them is this Greek dude, and his name's George, which was very strange every time they go, George, and I'd be like, and it's really Vince McMahon who does a George very similar to yours.
Vince. I'm here.
And he cuts off his executives on the call.
Yeah.
And there's one point where he's like, I don't want to answer that question. Paul Levesque answered that question. And it's just so strange.
Because it's Triple H.
You can feel Vince getting angry with the questions from the analysts. There was a lot of analysts are not big wrestling nerds. They're asking the questions that we know the answers to, but that they probably don't. Why are the ratings significantly down? Why are, in this time, the big problem was that the earnings from the live gate are down. There's not a lot of people going to the shows. And why is that? And you just to hear him try to spin it, but Vince isn't a PR person, so he's just kind of like angrily doing it. His excuse is that there's been like 15 wrestlers that have been injured or out. I did the math. I can't see how that hurts it. Roman Reigns and John Cena have been out. Brock Lesnar has been wrestling. That's about it. I can't quite understand how he's getting to. It's very Steiner math.
Oh my God, I bet.
So it's just very, very strange. And the thing
He's a carny.
He wouldn't mute his like microphone or his recorder, so you would hear when people would ask questions that he didn't like, or someone would say that you would hear him. You'd hear his heavy breathing through the whole thing. It was so weird. If you ever have a chance to listen to a WWE investor call or earnings call, do it. So much fun. So that's my entertainment for the week. But you, however, got to go see Hot Water Music.
Oh, I had a much more. I don't know. After thinking about how that call went, I feel like I had a much more entertaining weekend. My friend Carrie was up from Tennessee, so my friends Robin, Jen, and I went down with Carrie to go see Hot Water Music, one of our favorite bands, on their 25th anniversary tour, where they would do 2 nights in almost every town, and they would play an album front to back. So on Saturday night, they did No Division, and on Sunday night, they did Caution in its entirety.
So that's all they did. He made it sound like they were doing all their albums. That's 2 of 8.
They did 2 of 8. However, they'll go through the whole album, and then they do a bunch of hits. Each night, and each night there were similar songs, because there's some songs are just like trusty chords you're going to hear both nights. However, they did some pretty fun stuff, even going so far as for the encore on Sunday night, they did True Believers by the Bouncing Souls.
With the Bouncing Souls?
No, they did it just as Hot Water Music.
Okay, so that's not shocking. When they played Asbury Lanes like 3 years ago, they brought out the Bouncing Souls and did it.
Some of the Bouncing Souls were there.
Probably.
We bumped into them in the bathroom.
Yeah, I am very much a fair weather, late weather. No, a late term Hot Water Music fan. I'm actually a fan of theirs post reunion.
Right.
I don't like anything before the reunion.
Really?
I've tried so hard, and their stuff is so late 90s, early 2000s production that those albums are so hard to listen to. They're so of that time.
No way, man.
Yes, listen to those albums. Every song sounds alike. The production is very flat. I cannot listen to early Hot Water Music albums.
And yet you can listen to late era Bad Religion.
But Exister, is Exister? I think it's Exister. And the new one, Light It Up.
Right.
Some of the best music I've ever heard in my life.
Really?
I'm also a Chuck Reagan fan.
I'm a Chuck Reagan guy too.
I am very much into his dad rock era.
Yeah.
And this new stuff is definitely, you cannot compare anything he's done in the last 5 years to anything from like 15, 20 years ago.
I don't know, man. It's,
Drag My Body sounds like nothing. Mainliner, like any State of Grace sounds like nothing from back then. And if you can point out that it sounds kind of like the production sounds nothing like that.
Yeah, no, I will give you the production point on it. They played all those songs, by the way, and they were fucking great. They had a guy, and forgive me, I don't remember his name. Chris is out with some medical issues, the other singer.
Yeah.
So they had a guy filling in, and he did a fantastic job. I thought he was great. It's just, I wasn't aware of that when I got there, so it was definitely, people in the crowd were like chanting, "Where's Chris?" Because, they're dicks. And we went to the House of Independence in Asbury Park, which I highly recommend seeing.
Yeah, I've never been there before.
It's great. They do an amazing job making a room with brick walls sound great. It's shockingly good. And also, it's in Asbury Park, so we got to bump around a little buddy's hideaway. We went to Modine for brunch on Sunday, which was fucking great.
Go to Parlor Gallery?
I passed by. They seemed like they were having a meeting, so I didn't stick my head in. Because there was like a lot of people kind of huddled in a circle. I figured it was maybe not the time for me to go by. Otherwise, I was going to. Went to Johnny Mac's, and we had pizza, and I played skee ball, which was awesome. I fucking love Asbury Park now, and I love going to see bands down there, especially now that it's gotten a little cooler out, a little hot for the springtime. It's going to be nice. One thing I will say, my big fun takeaway from this weekend is, saw a band called Iron Chic. Have you ever listened to them?
I know their name. I've never heard them.
It's my new favorite band. And
they've been around forever.
They've been around since 2008, I think.
Yep.
And I'm like, how did I sleep on this band? They're from Long Island, which is like over there. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is exactly why opening bands are so important. And as we get older, I don't know if you feel the same way, sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, man. I just kind of want to dip in, see the band I want to see, and I want to get out. Going to see Hot Water Music this weekend and seeing Iron Chic, it reminded me of why it's so important to try to get to the show a little early, especially being a musician myself and checking out the opening band, because you literally might find your new favorite band when you're there waiting for the headliner to go on. And I am over the moon for Iron Sheik right now. They're fucking amazing.
I usually go see the opening act. I prefer the opening act to the local support.
Fair enough. Yeah, so that's a good distinction to make.
Having seen many local support at many Old Bridge nightclub, Birchill nightclub, and Asbury Lanes. You know, I can give or take on that, but I usually will go see who they're touring with. I usually know those bands, though. I've reviewed their album or something. So that's my thing with Hot Water Music. I want to know how hot was Chuck Reagan. This was bearded Chuck Reagan, right?
Oh, he's fucking hot.
Full on flannel?
No, he wore a gray shirt. It looks like a shirt he's a fisherman. He loves fishing. It looks like a worker like a working man shirt that like you would wear if you're like hanging out going fishing. And he sweats so much. Like he actually sweat into like the shape of a jack-o'-lantern for a hot second there. But he was both hot as in physically sweaty, and damn, Chuck Reagan's a real good looking guy.
Yes, he is.
Like I'm looking at him, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, and he's a spokesperson for Triumph Motorcycles. That's how I
Is
knew.
he really?
Yeah, that's how I found out about him.
No shit.
They did this soundtrack to this really cool movie that wasn't sponsored by Triumph, but that used his the fire, the something, the tread, the fire, not the asphalt, the fire, the rubber, the tread. I don't know. There's a really good Hot Water Music song that he actually expanded into the theme for this motorcycle road trip movie.
Well, good for
that's
him.
how I discovered him.
Really?
And the fire, the steel, the tread. That's what it is.
That's it. Yes.
And I think it's a Hot Water Music B-side too.
I knew you were gonna get there.
But that's that. I love that. Again, I love if they were to do the latest two albums, I would go see them in a heartbeat. I just other than Remedy and maybe Trusty Chord, like I cannot get into, especially the first couple albums. It just sounds so much like Basement at Rutgers, like punk rock.
And
yeah, but not. It just doesn't. Those albums need to be remastered. They need to be reworked. Something needs to be done.
Do not agree.
Live, I'm sure they're fantastic, because he's
Yeah.
playing it as he sounds today.
Yeah.
But listen to those now, and then listen to the last two albums.
So, is it just the Chris songs you don't like then?
I do not like Chris as a vocalist.
Yeah, because he sounds like he did.
No, Chuck Reagan does not sound like that. His voice has gotten way more gravelly. You cannot say in 20 years he sounds.
Oh
the
no,
same.
there was a point we thought he was going to lose his voice because he was like, "Arr." But because he's Chuck Reagan, he's got a gravelly voice. I can't imagine what his speaking voice is like.
I want you tonight to take an hour and a half,
Mm-hmm.
go listen to, or while you're flying tomorrow, go listen to those two albums you saw live, and then listen to the last two albums, and you tell me they sound like they are the same band. Because I refuse to, and tell me the production is like the same too.
No, not production. I can't.
I have a tough time with
digital production's completely different than it was like so many years ago.
I have a tough time with many of the bands from the era. The same thing cannot be said for Bad Religion. I think that's because Brett Gurewitz was producing their stuff, and Brett Gurewitz truly had his finger on the pulse of production for the time, which is why Bad Religion albums, while yes, the songs can bleed into each other, I think they definitely do not sound like they're still fresh today as they were back then. I would put Stranger Than Fiction, with the levels of the volume raised up, as good as anything that came out today.
So I will say, I agree with that, and I also agree with the fact that it was the same guy doing every single one. He had the ear. He knew what his band was supposed to sound like.
Yeah, that's why I can't.
I'll give that to you.
I can't compare that. And I would say that Bad Religion stuff more today, I would call that similar to dad rock, like the stuff that Hot Water Music's doing, except they keep wanting to be punk rock still.
Yeah.
Which goes weird. They got a new album coming out in a couple weeks, so we'll review that on the show.
Check that out.
But I want to know, so Hot Water Music played a different album every night. That seems to be the hot thing right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Don't like the idea.
You don't like the idea?
I like the idea because I love these two Hot Water Music albums, and Hot Water Music is another one of those bands like Avail where it's one of our it's a beloved Jersey band that was never from New Jersey, because they're from Gainesville, Florida. I love these two records, and I knew they were going to play some B-sides as well. And I just, it was a really special weekend to have our friend Carrie up. This band means so much to all of our friends. Like it was definitely like we got more than what we paid for out of it. That said, if it wasn't the two albums that I loved, like, could you imagine when NoFX came around? They're like, we're going to do all our old albums. What if you got a ticket for the night they did S&M Airlines?
Or you got even worse, Heavy Petting Zoo.
Oh, yeah.
So I get
it's
that,
tough.
but if they tell you in advance, so this is where we need to break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
What are we at time? We got 5 minutes to do this. I feel that when you know in advance, it is okay. I think when you get the wool pulled over you, Josh Goldfarb can speak to it. He recently saw, in the last 5 years or so, he saw Bruce Springsteen. Show sold out, then announced they're going to album night shows, and he got Born to Run. No, Born in the USA. Born in the USA.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
Which is pretty much one of the worst albums he's put out, with the exception of maybe Born in the USA, and even that's like, he would have played that anyway.
Well, it's different. We got to argue Springsteen a different time, but yeah, he didn't get the good night.
No, he did not. That was not but he didn't know ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he played 3 hours of song, so he got more than that.
Right.
But that kind of sucks that you pay a lot and you got an album you don't want to hear.
Because the majority of the set is the album you don't want to hear.
Like, I went and saw The Offspring on the Smash tour, where they did Smash front to back.
Right.
And then they did some greatest hits. I thought that was a phenomenal show because they had never played Smash front to back.
Right.
And by that, I mean every song on the album. They had never, some of the songs I think they had either never played or maybe played once or twice. To hear them after seeing them many times, I thought it was good, but I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. When you know what you're getting into, like, I love these albums. That said, there's certain tracks, like, I don't know that I'd ever would have heard them live if I didn't hear them in that. Because some bands, like, you know, you're in a band, you put out a record, like, yeah, you play the song a bunch when you're workshopping it, the record comes out, and you might be like, I don't really like that song, or that song just will never fit in a set. So unless you are getting that album thing, you're not going to ever hear it ever again live.
Why do you not like it, though?
You know, because there are very few albums, and I say few, take few with a grain of salt. There's a decent amount, but the majority of times you like a band, you're never going to be so in love with an album from front to back that if I was going to have only an hour to see a band, because, you know, most bands who are headlining, they're only playing for an hour, like Springsteen with Standing, who plays like for 17 days straight and twice on Sunday, you get an hour. So I would have it preferably peppered with songs from all the albums that I like, and not just that one album front to back, where you get that album and it's like, great, but now I don't get any of those other songs that I might have heard when I went to go see the band.
You see, I think it's different for me, partially because I've seen most of the bands I love, like dozens, hundreds of times.
Right.
Like, seen bands over and over again. It's nice to get, like, I find the whole album to be refreshing than some of the other stuff I've seen.
Well, no, that's different, though, because you've seen it so much. But if you're going to see a band, like, maybe it's the first time you're going to see the band, but you like, say if I like Iron Chic, I just fell in love with Iron Chic, and they have 3 albums and like a bunch of singles and stuff. But if I went to go see them and I had just gotten into them and I was like, oh shit, I love this album, and the only time they're going to play in town, they're going to play that album and maybe a couple songs off it. It's just kind of, it doesn't give you that kind of entry point for a band.
So I'm curious to see, I'm really excited for you to see Iron Maiden this summer, because you have now seen them do an album show. Now, different situation. Iron Maiden, typically when they comes around, when they do a cycle of their new album and then a cycle of their greatest hits, usually themed somehow. But their album recently, most of the times they do pretty much 85 to 90% of the new albums.
Right.
And this one, the one song they do is the one that's like 20 minutes long.
Well, yeah.
So it makes sense. But you saw them for the first time doing an album tour. You loved it. I'm now interested to see how you feel seeing them do Legacy of the Beast, which truly is their greatest hits.
Right.
With some other stuff, including some Blaze Bayley stuff thrown in. So it's going to be very curious to see.
That's
cool. They're doing Klansman, and they're doing, I think they're doing Future Real. So that, or Sign of the Cross and Klansman. So we'll see how that goes. Which I have seen them do, but he does a great job with the Blaze Bayley stuff as well. I have, Bad Religion right now is doing The Sufferer front to back.
Right.
Which there are albums like that, I guess, stuff that possibly is in the punk rock canon, where it does make sense that, an album that is solid front to back is worth doing as a standalone show, but there are very few and far between.
Right.
Like, I could see Rancid doing Outcome the Wolves front to back.
100%.
I think they have.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever want to see them do Life Won't Wait.
I think I was there for them doing Outcome the Wolves front to back, and then they played like another 40 minutes of all the rest of the hits.
Bouncing Souls, about 5-6 years ago, I saw them do 2 albums a night at the Highline Ballroom. I saw them do the second album, LeVar Vanoy album, Maniacal Laughter, and they also did, I believe it was the Gold album, which are my 2 favorite albums by them. But that one, I can't remember if I had a choice or not. It might have been free tickets, so I'm not quite sure on that. And I think those are the only full album shows I've seen.
Cool.
I know Iron Maiden for State of. I'm really bad with albums today, and I'm usually good with this stuff. They had now Matter of Life and Death.
Okay.
They did the entire album front to back. I know people were not very happy about that.
Oh yeah.
And I can only imagine if it's Iron Maiden doing an album front to back and it's that long, that could be kind of painful.
Well, and that's one of the things you told me. Like, they kind of learned their lesson there, where they're like, hey, maybe new album, we'll do 6 songs off the new album, the rest will be the golden greats.
Yeah, so there you have it. Hot Water Music. They wrapped up Brooklyn and they did
Asbury Park.
That's right. Was Josh there?
No.
Where's Josh been? Josh has disappeared.
Josh pieced the fuck out and went to Chicago to go see the Misfits.
Why? Didn't he see them here?
Yeah.
They were horrible.
Well, he's glutton for punishment.
How did I miss this?
I don't know.
He's really went to see the Misfits
In Chicago.
again.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, that's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah.
He must have gotten a free ticket.
I don't know.
I can't imagine anybody would pay to go see the Misfits again. Like, that was like...
We should have him on and grill him about it.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. We also have to have Mike Dolan on to talk to us about the Beastie Boys live show that he saw, the spoken word, I think, for the book, which I'm currently reading. We talked about
thank
last
God.
week.
When you said live show, they just saw him like, what, they get a
No.
hologram? That would be
No, I don't
terrible.
think they would ever do that. I think they're just talking about the book. They might be doing a spoken word, probably interview type programs.
Cool.
But right now, we need to talk about Game of Thrones.
Well, hold on 1 second. Turn it off. If you have not watched Game of Thrones yet, shame on you.
Battle of Winterfell.
Battle of Winterfell. We are going to spoil the shit out of what happened last night. So if you haven't seen it yet, now's the time to stop.
Season 2, Episode 3. Do not do anything you'll regret later, like listen to us talk right now. Turn off, rate, review, and subscribe.
Don't forget to rate, review, and
He's
subscribe.
at Handbreaker and Ham-Fisted Productions. I'm at Cult of George. Check us out. Awesome theme music. Go cut. Game of Thrones, Battle of Winterfell. You had to make it to this morning to watch it, didn't you?
So I came back from Hot Water Music last night. I got home at 12:30. I made sure my friends who were crashing in my apartment were situated. I shut the door to my bedroom and I watched it. I was up to like 2:30 in the morning watching this. And they are also Game of Thrones fans. My friends were staying with me, Karen and Kenneth. And I was like, how loud can I turn the TV in my bedroom where it won't spoil it for them? And Carrie told me this morning she could kind of hear the musical cues changes, but she couldn't hear any of the dialogue.
Doesn't matter. There was no dialogue. For the most part, it was just battle noises.
But I didn't know up until the very end. And I am so glad that I stayed up because everybody is on social media today and in the middle of the night last night just exploding for this episode.
Yeah, and all the memes for Arya. Though again, I think most of this stuff is not true spoilers. Yes, I guess you do realize who saved the day.
Yeah.
But you really don't understand the context of it. And this was just, we're talking about an hour-and-a-half battle.
It is an hour-and-a-half battle that took 55 nights to film.
Yep.
Like, legitimately the longest battle in television history. I want to say that the episode starts where they are just about to get ready for battle. And maybe there's 5 minutes where you have the quiet moments between the cast members and the characters as they're preparing their final preparations for this battle. And then it is, like, I will tell you, like, people are like, well, did you react? We'll talk about what happened, but did you react to this, that, and the other thing? I actually talked to Josh Goldfarb this morning, and I said, I did not have an emotional reaction to many things because I spent the entire hour and 20-something minutes like a living, breathing, clenched asshole because I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? It was so intense.
So right off the bat, the Dothraki annihilated in 30 seconds. Like, absolute madness there. These are the strongest, most insane battle armor people, and they do it in such an artistic way. So we always talk about this, that a movie or a show doesn't have a crazy big budget when they have to go nighttime with a battle scene. DC does it all the time. Some of the X-Men movies do it too. You cover a lot of CG and strings by doing stuff at night. Marvel blows out of the water. They do full daylight battle scenes with very, like, where you can't tell what CG or not, such as I always cite the Civil War battle at in the airport. This one's done completely under the cover of night to the point where People are complaining like crazy about how dark it was on their TVs. I actually probably recommend you watch this on an iPad where you can jack up the brightness easier.
That's what I'm going to do.
Unless you have a 4K TV or an OLED TV. I have a 1080p LED or LED LCD, and it was tough to see some of it. Do not blame FiOS. That compression was just from a lot of people from the back end coming in.
Oh, everyone and their mother had to be watching it.
It was just there was so much. Some people say it was actually better watching it over the app. I kind of wish I'd watched it downstairs on the big screen because I have a real projector that probably would have lit it up a little bit better. But it was tough. This was not as tough as the Battle of the Wall, which I thought was next to impossible to see.
Yes.
That was also very tough. But look, the battle happens at night, and there's stuff they don't want you to see and stuff that you can see because they make you feel like you're really in true darkness. But the scene at the beginning with the Dothraki, who have had all their weapons lit up by the Red Witch with fire, they, instead of showing you what's happening, they just slowly show you all the weapons being snuffed out.
And you see it
beautiful.
You see it from a hilltop and from the top of the castle. And that was the moment my butthole clenched. Because I was like, oh, that's all the Dothrakis.
So good. It turns, they're dead. Then you have the Unsullied. So next battalion, you are fighting. There is a great line the Mountain says where it's like, we are fighting a battle against the dead. We're fighting a battle against death, and death always wins.
Yeah.
And it's so true. You're just like, how do they beat them without a gimmick? Because you cannot, are relentless. They will not tire. And I feel that in this episode, you do feel you feel sorry for them because you're like, how much can you swing a giant axe without getting blown up?
Yeah.
And you see it, and you see them get overwhelmed. It is incredible, just the level of relentlessness. I loved it. I love the way that you saw some of your favorite characters. They are just in the mix with everybody else, and it is crazy. You are definitely the feeling of nervousness for everybody, the claustrophobia, not to the level of the one where the Battle of the Bastards, which I will say was, I feel, the better of the battles. We'll talk about that later, but I just felt that one had more. I just felt the anxiety even higher for that one. Now we're like the end of the show. I kind of know where we're heading. I feel it.
Right.
That I'm just letting it happen. Whereas Battle of the Bastards, I was still afraid that Jon Snow might get killed there. So that really had me. That was just, I felt the anxiety more. Plus that scene where he's being trampled by the body is like nothing I've ever seen. This, however, what were your favorite points of the battle?
So first, I want to just piggyback on what you just said. The Battle of the Bastards was a better battle.
Yeah.
Per se. When you watch like a zombie movie, zombie TV show, like there's always like a finite number of zombies. But this is like the Lord of the Dead. There is no... And they were locusts. They were just descended upon like locusts with these zombies.
And I found that frustrating because I knew that in order to finish this, there would, if the good guys were to win, there'd have to be a gimmick. And we'll talk about that a little later. But that's where I was like, in the back of my mind, I couldn't get out of that. I couldn't get out of that headspace where I wasn't there for Battle of the Bastards because it was humans on human.
Right.
And I felt that. Whereas here, I'm just like, it's the undead. They're like never gonna beat them unless a gimmick
Especially
happens.
not with martial weapons.
Yes.
Like there's no cannons, there's nothing.
The dragon glass is you still have to hit a person with it.
Yeah.
And when they don't stop coming, it doesn't matter how much dragon glass you have, they will, as they showed, there's a great moment where they've lit up this, and I always said they need to do a moat. They do a moat of fire.
Oh, that was fantastic.
And the dead basically realize that if they just sacrifice themselves onto the moat and just keep like piling up, they'll eventually snuff out the fire and go over it. These are smart zombies. It's pretty crazy. They also can fight with weapons, which is a little bit annoying. They're also fast zombies. Basically, everything is stacked up against you, and that's where I had trouble with this episode a little bit. So I'm not as in love with it as some people are. I thought it was masterful storytelling. I thought it was a great battle. Cinematography, incredible. Here are my nitpicks, because I need to have some nitpicks.
Pick away.
And I've read the books.
Yes, you have.
So while none of this is in the book, I do have to
will be.
watch this from the mentality of what would George R. Martin do. And,
I don't think he would have done that.
And having all the A-list people pretty much survive in this,
Right.
with the exception of Ser Jorah, who has a wonderful death. But the thing is, they could have just let him have the grayscale. I don't know why they went through that whole arc where he had the grayscale removed off of him. He could have still had grayscale and fought to the death, and it would have been an even, like, he was doomed regardless. I just don't know why they went this route.
Oh, well, the grayscale, I mean, definitely weakened him, and he might not have lived that long to make it to this battle if he still had the
But
grayscale.
they could have chosen to.
Uh,
I was like, they didn't need
Yeah.
to, in the grand theory,
but it was a part of his journey getting back to her.
But let me speak.
Yeah.
I just felt that there were, like, George R. R. Martin would have killed a major character here.
Yeah.
He truly would have taken this time to make someone's sacrifice be true. A red wedding. We haven't seen a red wedding for a while, largely since they moved over to to their own storytelling rather than George R. R. Martin's. Do you know what scene I thought it was going to happen?
What scene?
I thought Tyrion and Sansa were going to pull a mist
Yes.
and kill themselves.
Me too.
Romeo and Juliet. And you know what? I think it would have been good.
I would not have I would have not
I would have been
had
sad.
I would have sad, but I get it.
But that would have been, and then have the next scene be Arya saving the day. I think that would have been so much more poignant and so much more in the tone of George R. R. Martin, who has always said that the ending will not be the happy ending we want. I don't know. I think they are building towards the happy ending.
I think we're getting the happy ending.
We got the deaths were, the best one was the little girl Mormont. Was the best death in the entire history of the show.
That was my favorite part.
Just so for those, well, I don't know who would be listening. No, we're not going to. You should not be listening. I mean, a giant basically crushes her, and as he's putting the finishing crushed her, she takes a piece of dragon glass, stabs in the eye. It was so well done. It was incredible. You hear him crunch her, so you know she's dead.
Well, yeah, but then
she's dying.
She's dying, but she gets brought back by the Night King, so she was officially dead.
Yes, they do. Everybody called it the crypts were going to be a possible downfall.
Oh yeah,
and really, all it did was lead to the great scene of Arya running around the crypts, which was cool. But I don't feel like. And nobody died down there that meant anything. Like, as far as I can tell, so the question's still out. We don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure Samuel Tully's still alive, but we don't know. We don't know if Giant Spain, Tormund, but we don't know that. We assume that. Basically, there's a lot of people who could have died off screen.
They showed a shot of them all, like, standing.
They are.
Yeah.
They're at the end.
Yeah. So
Ghost is still alive.
Ghost is still alive. You saw him in the preview. Podrick's alive. Brienne. Jamie.
Everyone's alive. That should be alive. They killed off like the one friend over from the wall. They killed Ser Jorah Mormont. They killed the girl Mormont. All the Mormonts are now dead.
The whole Mormont family's extinct.
Like even fucking Grey Worm's still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Wait, is he's alive?
I don't know. I think he is. They didn't show him die.
Yeah.
They but they showed Brienne too get swarmed, and then that's the last we saw. But I'm pretty sure she's alive.
So what? So there was moments because I watched a lot of zombie movies, and I'm like. I realized that you can't get turned by
biting.
Bit. You have to get murdered by them to turn, which I like. I like that a lot. There was a lot of things where this episode got so intense it made me forget things. So when things would actually unfold and happen, I would get very excited about it. I know. I mean, I loved the dragon fight in the sky, which I thought was fucking cool. I liked that it was Arya and not Jon.
That did it, yeah.
Because you know what, everyone's like, "Oh, it should have been Jon," but in the end of the day, Jon was the battle of the bastards. Like, first and foremost, as a Dungeons and Dragons guy, always keep track of the rogue because they're up to something sneaky. And here she comes out of nowhere. I thought when I said it to my friend Tarina, I was like, "Hey, it's going to be Arya, but she's going to be pretending to be Bran." And then when he comes back from his like little field trip as a bird.
Yeah,
like I was like, so thanks for nothing, magic guy.
He's been useless. I mean, really,
so terrible. But when she came out, because I love Arya Stark, I love her journey, I love everything about her. When she came out and he's got the chokehold on her, I'm like, oh shit! And then she drops the knife. Man, when that knife thing happened, like seasons ago, where she like learned to drop the knife, I'm like, all right, cool, bro, you got a knife trick, whatever. When is that ever gonna come in? I was wrong about everything, and it was so good.
I would have been happier had they done her as Bran.
Me too.
That would have been a cooler surprise, because a lot of people are asking, where the hell did she come from? She does just magically appear. There really is no, she came out of the shadows. I know.
You can't lose track of the rogue, because she's up there with Melisandre, and she's like, and what do we say to the Lord of Death? Not today. And she takes off running. And then you forget, because all that butthole clenching that you're doing is happening, and she comes out of nowhere because she was like running to go and take out the Night King.
If Theon Greyjoy hadn't lunged at the Night King, he'd still be alive.
He'd still be alive. But I feel like that was Bran giving him a receipt for betraying his family. You're a good man, and then he sends him off because Bran knows. Bran is the three-eyed raven. He knows what's about to happen. That was a dick move.
Theon's an A-lister, so they had one A-lister killed through this. Sir Jorah maybe is a B+ A- player. I just thought they could have. Again, seeing it from the eyes of George or Mormont, I just thought there should have been, with this positivity, there should have been some sadness. And I mean, I just didn't feel it. I think Tyrion and Sansa offing each other, Romeo and Juliet style, would have been pretty impressive.
Oh, that would have made it a perfect episode.
Yeah.
I will say this, because I do have company over. They're not going to get to see it till later. I'm in my bedroom. The Sansa thing happens. I literally leap out of bed, and I'm doing a happy run and like screaming without actually vocalizing anything, because I'm trying not to wake my friends, and I'm also trying not to spoil Game of Thrones for them. I'm a good host.
I loved it. Again, a little nitpicking aside, I thought it was a great episode. I'm a little frustrated that like this was something that built up for 7-8 seasons now, and it's not the final. I always thought this would be the final battle.
Me too.
And how it ends. And now we've got 3 more episodes, and they're got to do the battle with Cersei. Again, I always thought this would be the end, and they would wrap it up a little differently. I thought this got wrapped up too nicely in a bow. I guess that's my complaint with the whole.
Right.
Way too nicely in a bow. Hopefully, we're going to see how it finishes next week. Looks like it's going to be the battle with Cersei. Then there's 2 more episodes, which I don't know whether they're going to wrap it up or there's something else that's going to happen.
I think that next week's going to be a cool down episode. I think it's going to lead up to the battle with Cersei. I don't feel like we're going to actually get to see 2 battles back to back.
I don't know.
Who do you think ends up ganking Cersei?
I actually, a lot of me feels, well, look, if it followed the George R. R. Martin path, I feel like Cersei would end up on the throne.
Right.
Living.
No,
running it.
I agree.
If they had gone the original path, now, I don't know. I mean, Dany, they're doing some side-eye with her. Maybe she could try to do something to take out Jon. I don't know if Jon, doesn't want it.
No. I'm not talking about who ends up on the throne. Like, who do you, because I realistically, they're not going to not kill Cersei. Who do you think kills Cersei? Who gets the kill? You think it's Arya again?
No.
You think it's Jaime?
Tyrion.
Bold choice.
I mean, the only other person that would... Sansa? I don't know.
I don't think Sansa.
Yeah, I think at this point it's Tyrion. It's got to be Tyrion or Jaime. I mean, I feel like that's where the payback is.
Yeah.
Because everyone else that she's murdered or ruined is dead.
Yeah.
So that's the only way I can see it going.
Or what about... I mean, would they give Arya another kill? I mean, that is like some like double champ shit right there.
I don't know. I don't want to see that. I think Arya's. I think we can live with that.
Because she killed the Night King. I think she's good.
She's fine.
She's fine.
So we'll be back next week with another recap of Game of Thrones.
Very exciting.
Possibly reviewing She-Ra. Possibly finally talking about the dark side of wrestling. You need to watch those shows.
Get on there this week.
Because there is just
I got some time on a plane. We're going to try to work that out.
There's so much really good stuff on there. I think this week's going to be the Von Erichs.
Whoa, really?
And the Montreal Screwjob, which I thought I knew everything about. There's stuff I didn't know about. And they spent a large amount of the show just having Jim Cornette talking shit about Vince Russo and Vince Russo talking shit about Jim Cornette back and forth.
I want to pay to see this.
Oh, it's so worth seeing it. He's got to find Viceland. You should have access to it.
I'll find it. There's been a lot of other things on my plate to watch, and then just everything.
I know. So we'll be back next week. Hambone, how can the kids reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Hambreaker, where I'm constantly tweeting about professional wrestling, Dungeons and Dragons, and cute animals. You can find me on Instagram, which is a lot more fun now because I'm leaving the house. John Hambone McGuire is my name on Instagram, and I'm showing you my podcast. I'm showing you my adventures. George, where can the kids find you?
Hey, the kids can reach me at GLK Creative on Twitter, at GLK Creative on Instagram, and at cultofgeorge.com. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. It's great running around to all these weird places where people find me and go, I love watching your podcast.
Oh, delightful.
And I'm like, I had no idea that our fans actually live nearby us.
They do.
It's crazy, but it's super awesome. We really appreciate you. Hambone, take us out.
Everybody remember, be nice. Aloha.
Перебиты, поломаны крылья, серой болью всю душу свело.